Hey there.
Well, hey there.
You know what this is?
Yeah, I think it's episode 42.
It is the V2V podcast, episode 42.
Yeah.
I have no idea how we got this far.
Nope.
It's a
not.
mystery. Yeah.
It is.
It's very strange. Like,
Yeah.
that we're actually continuing to do this. Our tens of listeners are probably thrilled that another episode is coming out.
Yeah. Absolutely. We can hear them jumping up and down.
We have a very dedicated fan base who waits anxiously for every single episode of the V2V podcast. And there's still a lot of speculation about what V2V means.
Yeah.
Someone asked me the other day what that means, and there's a few answers.
Yeah.
Yeah. The favorite, and he guessed, he said, does that mean vag to vag?
Yeah.
And I mean, that's pretty spicy.
Yep.
So, yeah, speaking of hot takes on popular culture, let's talk about Pinocchio.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. Have you seen the Disney version of Pinocchio?
I saw the original, but it's been a very long time since I've seen it. I don't quite remember the plot, but I know it's pretty creepy.
I think it came out in like 1942, like a long time ago. One of their first animated movies.
Yeah.
And there was fairly recently there was a live action remake that I think it was a foreign production that really didn't get any traction.
Okay.
And I think part of it is because it's so dark. Like,
yeah.
I was talking about the idea of remaking Pinocchio and how that probably couldn't be done today because of all of the weird, dark themes in the movie, and just it's absolutely a horror movie for kids. And there'd be no way to reasonably turn that into like a live action movie for a few reasons. So we want to kind of get into why that's true and talk about Pinocchio.
Okay, cool.
So first we have Geppetto, and as the movie opens, this Cricket, right, Jiminy Cricket, kind of takes us around Geppetto's workshop, and we're looking at all the cool stuff, and we see this unfinished puppet, and then Geppetto is arguing with the name of the puppet with his pets. He's a lonely old man. He's dancing Pinocchio around the room, and he's scaring the cat. And then we have this weird flirtatious fish who like bats his eyelashes and kind of gives these like come hither looks, this goldfish.
Okay.
And so, it's really delightful, I guess. So he goes to bed.
Yeah.
And the cat opens the window. So Geppetto is looking at the star and wishes for Pinocchio to be an actual child. Like, that's the beginning of the movie. So that's weird, right?
Yeah.
This guy, he makes a puppet and then...
Yeah, I'm kind of getting Michael Jackson feels already, from that.
Sure.
It feels the same thing.
It's a big leap, how this old clockmaker guy, and he likes his new puppet, and that's cool. But he's old, and now he wants a kid?
Yeah.
Doesn't this guy have any idea of what raising a child entails? And but he's still wishing for a real life kid at his advanced age.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, how about like a lady friend or a boyfriend or a companion? I'm not judging, but Geppetto automatically assumes that parenthood is a good idea.
Yeah.
So that's how it opens, and that's very strange. So then, so Geppetto wishes upon a star, and then after he does that, the blue fairy shows up.
Right.
And she waves her wand, and suddenly Pinocchio is alive-ish.
Okay.
He's still a puppet and made of wood, but he can move and talk and kind of walk around.
Right.
And then she tells Geppetto that because he wished for a real boy, Pinocchio says, "Hey, am I a real boy?" And she says, "No." In order to become a real boy, for Geppetto's wish to come true, it's actually up to Pinocchio to prove himself, quote, brave, truthful, and unselfish.
So he has to earn his humanity.
Right, but he's only a few seconds old, and she's like laying all this like heavy stuff on him. Like, okay, you got to be all these things. If you want to be he didn't ask her to be a real boy. Geppetto asked for the guy to be a real boy. So she's laying all this stuff on the puppet, and how would he know what being brave is, or unselfish, or truthful? So
yeah.
And the first weird thing about that is his nose grows when he lies.
Yeah.
So it kind of implies that the blue fairy knows that he's going to mess up.
Yeah.
Like, nice job, blue fairy.
Right.
So, okay, so that's weird. So the very night the blue fairy gives life to Pinocchio, Geppetto tucks him into bed because apparently he has to go to school tomorrow. So this is like a half-wooden kid. He's like an hour old, and suddenly it's like time to wake up and go to school. I mean, it seems like it would make sense to teach him some basic things about life, maybe. Some fundamental life skills for a brand new half-wooden puppet boy.
Yeah.
So in the morning, Geppetto hands Pinocchio an apple and a book. I don't know where he got the textbook, but he hands him a book. And he doesn't even, Pinocchio doesn't even know what other kids are, much less what school is. So he's walking down the streets of school, and suddenly these two characters approach him and divert him away from school because he doesn't know shit. Like, he's just like, hey, I'm a puppet boy. So he doesn't go to school. And the blue fairy says, hey, why didn't you go to school? And he says he met two big monsters and his nose doesn't grow. And then he says they had big green eyes and his nose does grow. And he kind of figures out he's not supposed to lie, but no one's teaching him anything about like the importance of telling the truth or lying.
Yeah.
And why is he predisposed to lying anyway? Like, it doesn't make like So all right. So we jump ahead a little bit. He meets some people. He meets some bad dudes, and then he gets like whisked away to a place called Pleasure Island with his friend Lampwick, and it's explained to him that Pleasure Island is a place with no school, no cops, and it's all free. And so these kids are drinking, they're smoking, they're breaking stuff, they're eating ice cream, there's a fight club, and basically anything that a young juvenile delinquent might want to get into. And they're supposed to be, I guess, about 8 years old. So, got a bunch of 8-year-olds drinking and smoking and fighting, and yeah, so that's weird. Can you imagine that being made into like a live-action movie with a bunch of kids, like smoking, like I guess updated. They're like smoking weed. I don't know. Maybe they're smoking some crack, perhaps drinking.
Crazy.
So once the kids drink and smoke enough, they magically start turning into donkeys. And then for some vague reason, they end up working in a mine until they die from exhaustion. I don't know if this is some like negative reinforcement of good values to scare into kids, but it's just incredibly dark and unexplainable when if a parent like says, "Hey kid, let's go see Pinocchio," and the kid's like, "What?"
Yeah. But also that's very Island of Dr. Moreau-ish as well, and kind of this is all just sort of enslavement of behavior to kids and how they should behave with their parents. It's all very kind of, it's subtle, but it's really, it's not subtle. It's kind of blatant in the movie.
It really is. So Pinocchio gets captured by this character Stromboli, and the Blue Fairy comes and rescues him, and she tells him that it's the last time she can help him out.
Right.
So, and that's weird. She brings a puppet to life and then gives him some vague instructions about, you've got to be good enough.
Yeah.
And then she tells him not to lie. And then she says, "Hey, look, this is the last time I'm going to help you out."
Abandonment.
It's abandonment issues for sure, right? Like, no, I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weird hints of TTI here. It's very strange. Like, I didn't realize this may be tied into the stuff that we do on the Survivor series, but I think Pinocchio qualifies.
Yeah, he's a troubled teen.
He's definitely, he's not even a teen. It's so horrible.
No.
So you figure since she's a fairy and she has this kinds of power that she may have known in advance how kind of this was going to turn out a bit. Like, why not, Blue Fairy, why not save him before he's headed to Pleasure Island? So it's just so messed up because when he escapes out of Pleasure Island, he's kind of half turned into a donkey.
Yeah.
And then she sends a message via a dove that Geppetto has gone to look for Pinocchio.
Yeah.
Right? And then somehow got swallowed by a big evil whale.
Right.
So she doesn't really help him at all. She's a bad Blue Fairy.
Yeah, I agree. She's not nice.
No. And then what's really like crazy is this is the first, what happens next is the first death in the Disney universe ever. When the movie came out, the main character is dead for 10 seconds and everyone is sad, and tears up and in a kiss of true love, the Blue Fairy saves the day. That wasn't in place yet. In fact, Pinocchio kind of started that whole true love's kiss will like revive people.
Yeah.
So Pinocchio drowns trying to save Geppetto, and it's weird because he's breathing underwater just fine when he's looking for the whale, and he proves that he's brave and unselfish. But this little wooden puppet is dead, and the fish are crying. and it's just horrible, like just total nightmare stuff.
Yeah. This is awful.
And then the blue fairy does save him, though. She revives him, and I guess that's her wish, the wish fulfillment of helping him. Like, he dies, and she's like, okay, you're not dead anymore. So that sends a weird message, too. And the last very strange thing about this movie is that, although Pinocchio escapes from Pleasure Island and ultimately gets to become a real boy because he has proved himself to be brave, the cricket gets a medal. There's some dancing. Everyone's happy. But the leader of Pleasure Island, Stromboli, keeps doing what he's doing. All the bad characters are still bad. Pleasure Island is still a temporary home to wayward boys on their way to donkey death, and nobody does anything about that. So
no,
it's just totally messed up. It doesn't have any place in a kid's mind. It's just the craziest thing, and it's just not something that people generally think about. A lot of Disney movies are like this. They're complete and total horror movies for kids. Like all of
I have a little story. My mom took me to see Bambi when I was like 3 or 4. And I shrieked. Like, I screamed so hard when his mom died. And I was hysterical for weeks about it. It literally traumatized the fuck out of me.
Yeah, it's terrifying. I mean,
it's horrific.
Fire in the forest, and people are getting shot, and like
yeah,
right.
It's horrendous. That scene is horrendous, and it almost reminds me also, like, there was another film that really haunted me as a kid, which was Watership Down.
Oh my gosh, that's so frightening.
That film is just terrifying on so many levels. Like, just, it's so morbid and disturbing.
Yeah, I think that was some Don Bluth animation, and he had that style of animation had a tendency to be like really graphic, like a lot of when like the rabbits like would get hurt, there would be like blood everywhere and stuff that would spurt out, and then the look of fear in the rabbit's eyes, like it's haunting still.
And the gassing. And the gassing of the rabbit.
Yeah.
Like, and how, I don't know, these are things that I probably shouldn't have watched as a kid, you know? I don't know.
They seem to have a lasting impact. Like, even, like, I can recall this stuff too, and it's just like, holy shit, like, that's scary. Like, and, you know, I'm not saying that these movies shouldn't be made, but I think there is some responsibility on the filmmakers to really, like, take some consideration about what they're putting out there and how it might, you know, affect people, especially youngsters who this may be the first time they're ever exposed to any kind of, you know, on-screen, realistic, like, terror and violence. Because they're not marketed that way. You know, they're marketed as, I mean, well, actually, Watership Down was kind of, I mean, if you knew the story beforehand, you would know that it's scary, but most of the kids who were going to see these movies with their parents had no clue. It was just another animated, like, movie that should be fun. And, you know, scaring kids is cool. There's nothing really wrong with that, but some of this stuff goes so deep, and the, like, internal logic of these movies is so flawed, like with Pinocchio, where there's no justice whatsoever involving all of these other poor kids who remain trapped in hell, basically. So it's cool that Pinocchio like survives and becomes a real kid. But what about the other kids, and where are their parents? And you know, it's I don't know, just something to consider, the darkness that we're putting out into the world that for kids consumption. I don't know what a good kids movie would really look like. I mean, I guess we could speculate on what some good children's movies are. I think maybe Toy Story is a good example of a movie where there's danger and scary bits, you know, especially with like Sid and his like Frankenstein toys, and that's pretty dark. But everyone, all the bad characters kind of get a comeuppance, and there is, you know, some redemption at the end for the heroes. And even though that isn't necessarily the way real life works, you know, bad things happen to good people and nothing, you know, things don't necessarily get resolved.
Yeah.
But I think in the case of, of children's movies, it's kind of important that those things do happen. Because why do we want to raise a bunch of like cynical, jaded kids who are pretty sure that everything is going to be, you know, fucked from the beginning? I don't know. I'm more inclined to want to put out, you know, hopeful material, especially for children. Later on, you know, the truth about the world is much more able to be consumed by you know, teenagers, older kids who already have an understanding that not everything always goes their way, or sometimes they get saved and not everyone else gets saved. But as far as, you know, like really young kids, that's a weird message to be putting out there.
Yeah, it's just odd. I mean, it's a really questionable time to ask a child to question mortality and because it forces that question. And I remember, because that night I remember having a conversation with my mom as she tucked me into bed, and that was when I first asked her, you know, wait, I'm going to die someday, and you're going to die someday, and I freaked out, you know, and it just freaked me out. It really freaked me out.
Yeah.
It's just a horrible thing to have to. I mean, you have to come to terms with that at some point as an infant. Well, not as an infant, but as a child, you definitely have to eventually think that and have that question and have that conversation with your kid, but with your parent. But
right.
I don't think it should be forced by a Disney movie. You know?
Yeah, they've kind of, I guess, turned away from that whole philosophy. In some ways, I think it's kind of bold to be doing this, to take like a counter view that if you want to go that route and be really like scary and kind of show the world as it is, then you should like do that. But there's been this kind of schizophrenic posture that, like, you know, especially Disney has taken, where they kind of have now turned like entirely the other way, where everything is great, and so they're missing this balance. That's one of the reasons I am really interested in the idea of creating something like a real, you know, live action movie like Pinocchio, to prove how like terrifying it really would be.
Right.
I think the one that was made like really fell short of the mark, and you know, it wasn't a very good production. It was very low budget, and no one saw it. But for someone to be brave enough to like take this premise and really show, like, beat for beat how terrible this is, and really show these, like, you know, young kids, like, drinking and smoking and doing crazy stuff and, you know, turning into donkeys.
Yeah.
And how, I mean, it'd be a great horror movie. Like, that has some real substance to it. Right?
It would be a fantastic horror movie, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so there it is, Pinocchio. What do you think? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it appropriate? Is it, like, fantastic? You know, what's going on with Pinocchio? And any other movies like that? Like, I'd be interested in hearing some comments about other movies or people's takes on that, the whole idea of Disney movies as horror films for kids.
I'm just looking up on YouTube. I'm looking up Pinocchio horror movie.
Yeah.
There's something called Decades of Horror, Pinocchio. There's something called Pinocchio's Revenge, which looks like a live action thing. There's something called actually, that looks pretty good. There's something called The Tree Man, and that's about it. Oh, Geppetto, A Real Boy, Crypt TV Monster Universe.
Wow.
There's also the Evil Pinocchio trailer.
The Evil Pinocchio?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, hey, check this out. Like, I'm saying, like, you can see this. So, apparently, excuse me, back in, looks like, November of 2018, so several months ago, looks like Tom Hanks was in talks to play Geppetto in Disney's live-action adaptation of Pinocchio.
Oh, holy fuck.
Now, I don't know if this fell through, but the fact that, okay, so I remember reading about this. And then there was a competing Pinocchio project at Netflix with Guillermo del Toro setting to write and direct a stop-motion musical version.
Yeah.
And I think both of those projects fell through. I haven't heard anything regarding that recently. This is actually something that I've been interested in for a while because it just I can't let it go. How crazy this movie is.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Oh, Disney has canceled plans for a live action Pinocchio. Because the headline is, this is from January of 2019.
Yeah.
Disney has canceled plans for a live action Pinocchio, which is good news because that story is a basket of nightmares.
Good.
No shit. Like, it really is. Like,
good.
Just, I don't think it can be done.
No.
Like,
but it
stay faithful to the story.
It should
like,
be
there's
done.
It should be done. But there's no way that anyone's going to be brave enough to show a bunch of, like, 10-year-olds drinking and smoking and turning into donkeys and working in mines and dying.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that it's super important, though. It's so weird. I'm, like, so conflicted about all this. Like, it's so important because it really does tie in to the idea of the troubled teen industry. In so many ways. Like, you could make you could make a movie like that where the parents send their kid to the camp and it turns out to be this, horror story about the misconceptions that the parents had about what these places are really like, and turn it into like a magical realism kind of horror fantasy about kids turning into like donkeys. Because dude, wow. Yeah. And I still like the idea of your kind of behind the scenes administrative look at the troubled teen industry, kind of like, what was the Russell Crowe movie, The Insider, about the tobacco industry?
Yeah, I didn't see that either, but isn't that a sequel to Top Gun and the other one, Balls Deep?
It is not. It is not. It is not.
No.
No. It's the behind the scenes. But it's about the whistleblower of the tobacco industry.
Yeah.
Who,
I mean, what really, really inspired me was that Cheney thing done by what's his name?
Christian
Batman.
Bale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what I envision this guy as. Litchfield.
Mm-hmm. Right.
He's just a slithering kind of like sales guy and just like bullshitting it the entire way. And he could sit down and have this conversation that's so dark and so evil, plotting it out while it's all forming,
Right, and have all these kind of like Cheney was able to shoot his friend in the face and have his friend apologize to him for getting shot in the face.
Yeah.
Litchfield seems to be able to do similar things in the sense that he brutalizes and traumatizes his kids indirectly and directly. Like, his institutions do it, and then he's also right there, inappropriately flirting with teenage girls and stuff like that, and gets away with it. And weathers lawsuits and facility closures,
changes his name, gets raided over and over again. It's the most hilarious story ever in a way. It's so tragic.
There you go. It's like Pinocchio. Because
it
just doesn't seem to be able to stop. No one can stop this guy for some weird reason. Like he's got these superpowers or something.
Just so untouchable, and that spins the conspiracy about TTI a lot, and that's sort of where these things come in, where survivors are endlessly searching for these clues, and they're doing all this research work for these clues, and they're convinced, and yet none of it ever pans out, There might be one person who's in it, and then that's it, or
right.
But yet they still stick with it, and they won't let it go. And it's the real conspiracy is that the technology that was used in Synanon that somehow has something to do with the CIA somehow.
Mm-hmm.
That cult definitely had connection to CIA. That technology is being used in every troubled teen program, it seems. A variance of it. And that is what the conspiracy is.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that somehow that style of treating or therapeutic methodology is still at play and still being sold. Packaged and sold. That's really the conspiracy. Right,
that people are so naive or blind to the realities of what real therapeutic method is, that they can just say, this is helpful, this is therapy for your kid, and completely and 100% openly not do the things that are therapeutic or helpful.
Right.
It's crazy because it's known.
I mean,
this is not secret stuff, really. It's like
no.
It's in the paper, here and there, pretty consistently. There's been, people whatever you think of Dr. Phil, he's shown some light on this too, and it just becomes this weird form of entertainment, where people aren't sure whether the kids are bad enough to go there or not my kid, because there's a relatively small amount of children who go through this. I mean, it's thousands of them, but in the great scheme of things, it's a small percentage of kids who actually go to these places.
It's
so
enough
most people
so that
have no conception of what it's like.
Yeah, exactly. It's enough that it can be swept under the rug like that. And this tough love thing, that seems to be at play in all of the programs and seems to be what's really sold, is still being used. Like, we're that stupid that we think we need to hit our kid or, punish our kid or, even stupider, we think that we can send our kid away to be punished and that the kid will then come back sick.
Yeah, it's crazy how the Pinocchio analogy fits, because it's like there's a parent and their kid is like half alive, like half real, like they're not happy with their sentient wooden puppet that they have as a child, and so TTI comes along as the blue fairy and says, listen, you're going to become a real boy when you show that you're brave and good and honest. Yeah. And so the way we're going to do that is to actually remove you from your parents and send you to this place that's shrouded in mystery.
Mm-hmm.
And then your parent kind of goes off and wanders around, quote unquote, looking for you, hoping that you're going to come back as a real boy. And then you come home and you're okay, you're a real boy now. And then all of the things that you learned, about sex and drinking and smoking and misbehaving and within this facility, because that's really what's taught in a lot of cases, you bring that back and say, yeah, now I'm doing the same kinds of things, but I'm brainwashed so that now I'm a real kid. And the parents are like, wow, it really worked. So anything that happens after the fact is looked at as, oh, I guess now you're just, I don't get it. Like, I just don't understand, because in most cases, the kids who are sent away, there's nothing really wrong with them in the first place. They're just being kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very strange. But, yeah, wow. This got deeper than I thought it was, talking about a stupid Disney movie. Yeah, please.
Can I just mention quickly that Dr. Phil is not our friend at all?
No, I would agree with that.
He has sent many kids away to these programs, and the actual name Dr. Phil, which is really just, now a corporation, is in total cahoots with these programs and gets paid a tremendous amount. Dr. Phil gets paid by these programs to send these kids. That's why they select the certain programs that they have, they'll have the program manager. I mean, have you ever seen an episode of Dr. Phil where he does this?
I've only seen I've only seen the quote unquote good one, where with
Nick Galea,
with the survivors on, talking about what they've been through, and he was very empathetic and serious and concerned. But no, I get your point. It's kind of like,
I mean, the story behind that is nutty too, because Nick at some point turns to Dr. Phil and slams him for being in cahoots, and Dr. Phil, agrees with him and goes, yeah, okay, I know, and then at the end of the taping, Dr. Phil turns to Nick and goes, Nick, we've got to do something about these programs. Then immediately, Dr. Phil's people come into the room, take Nick out of the studio, kick him off of the lot, basically.
Wow.
And so what happens is that episode proceeds to manipulate the way his mother talked to him in the episode by using editing.
Okay.
So it fucked everything. It wasn't a true episode. So what you're seeing isn't what actually happened. And they edited out. they edit out the part where Nick went at Dr. Phil and called him out for doing this.
Okay.
Kids are dying. He screamed that at him. You're killing kids.
See, I haven't seen that. I saw the one with Liz and Jody. Now, is it the same episode?
Right. No.
Okay.
You're talking about the doctors?
No. This was... Oh, was it the doctors?
Phil. Yeah, no, I think they were on the doctors. Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, I'm sure. So in that case, because it was the agenda for that particular show, it was all very, oh no, oh my God, this is terrible.
Right.
But because every show has a particular agenda,
he's a new person every time.
It's not consistent because it's entertainment, and I get that. And so it's kind of like you can't take the word of a former staff member, for instance, like Eric Thor, as his redemption. You can't take an episode of Dr. Phil where he shows some compassion for this stuff as his real take on it, because he's just trying to get ratings. And so he'll say whatever it takes to get viewers, whether it's pro or con PTI. Like he's done both. So I get your point. Well, and
there's an episode with the Catch Me Outside girl where she's been at the therapeutic boarding school. They have video of her there, and then she comes back on and talks to him, after.
Right.
It's so funny. Right. I have to send you that.
What's her name?
I don't know her real name.
Anyway, the Bad Baby. I love the fact that she's now signed with a major record label as a rap star. I think that's fantastic.
It's fucking amazing.
And it's only because she had a quote unquote bad attitude and did shit the way she wanted to do it. And so listen, kids,
I think it's
kids should misbehave and do what they want to do and curse out their parents.
It's also because of 4chan. It's because 4chan created a meme of someone on 4chan created a meme of this girl, the Catch Me Outside girl.
Right.
And that went viral. And then people went looking for that, and that went viral. The Dr. Phil show went viral. So people, and then people took clips of that, and they made that viral. And Reddit, it went viral on Reddit. So, that's the reason why.
Yeah.
That's why she had the power to be able to do what she did. She caught, in the middle of this Dr. Phil shit show, where he's selling her to this program, she was able to do something that allowed her to become an internet sensation.
Right. And that was just kind of lucky, in a way.
It's incredibly lucky.
Right.
And
just like the Pinocchio scenario.
Yeah.
She was saved, in a sense from that whole world. But that's it. It's not good enough, It's great that this girl was able to become successful because of her quote unquote bad attitude, right? And refusal to conform to any kind of bogus therapy, and remained true to her bratty nature.
Yeah.
But the focus was not at all on what happened when she went to this facility. She probably just, left and was like, fuck this, I'm not doing this. Because her parent her mom, was weak enough for her to demand that she not be there, which is rare. It's rare. That's not something that most kids have the drive to do.
Is that what happened? I don't
know what happened. This is just a guess.
No, I think what happened is that he sold the parents on a 3-month thing with them because they do that for the Dr. Phil show. They'll do that. It's like what happened with Josh Shipp, because he had this show called Teen Trouble that I completely destroyed on the internet and wrecked, and I caused his life great harm. Not great harm to his life, but I just made his life. I made his life a living hell because people had his phone number and they were calling him all night. One night. Basically, I have to mention this other thing that happened was there was a girl on the Dr. Phil show who got sent to a placement, to a residential treatment, and she got her arm broken being thrown out of bed.
Okay.
Thrown out of the top bunk by staff. She got her arm broken. And so she sued Dr. Phil for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because he sent her there. Right.
Yeah.
And he paid for it. So it's really his responsibility. Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. Because I'll tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna send you to Aspen Academy for 3 months. You're gonna get this top-notch therapeutic board. So I'll tell you this place is amazing. And here is the program director, Keith Adelman, here to tell you what's gonna happen to your kid. And then the director sells his administrative bullshit, and the kid goes. Everyone claps, the kid goes. That's the routine.
That is the routine. Pleasure Island.
Yay.
All right, I think we've done it. I think we've done episode 42.
42,
which is also the number of the meaning of life, which we're not going to get into because that's cliche. And it's just to be honest, Douglas Adams, the author of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, was asked about this whole thing with 42 and that being the meaning of life, and he said, "Oh, I just made it up. And there's nothing to it." So, all you 42 nerds out there, just stop. Just stop. Doesn't mean anything.
No.
All right. Hey, we have a Patreon. Hey, you know that? We do. We have a Patreon. Patreon.com/V2V podcast. People can donate and contribute $1, $3, or $5 a month to help support the show. That's true.
Do it now!
That's a real thing. This is a value extraction portion of the show.
Yeah.
Right? And, if you like this, you can like it. You can press that like button, that thumbs up thing.
Yep.
And there's a bell you can ring, apparently, right? You can ring the bell so that every time we produce an episode, you'll know. And you can leave a comment. You can say all sorts of negative things about what we're doing here, or perhaps even a nice thing. You can do all that stuff. Yeah, it's great. Don't cost nothing.
Nope.
All right. The YouTube overlords are watching, so I guess till next time. Bye.
Bye.